Hi everyone, this is a new video about a story you haven't heard yet. In minutes, I will delight you with this story. Sit back and start listening. After the Great Crash, several children and teenagers are trying to survive in the megapolis. Pursued by killer robots programmed to destroy all traces of life, even vegetation, they find shelter in basements and sewers and only emerge to search for food. The story begins by showing our world, a probable future. Everything was destroyed. It was the center of Los Angeles. Some kids were talking among themselves. We were shown various things while hearing a dialogue in the background. The sun will set soon, and the night units will come out. They are the worst. The kids don't stand a chance against them. There's no point in even trying. We've already searched this entire area, and there's no more food left. It's all unclear here. This is all we have to survive. So please, spare us your pessimism, Jan. Someone addressed the boy with displeasure, but at that moment we were shown some rats. Perhaps these are the only creatures left alive. Among the debris, we see kids who crawled out of them. One of them is gazing intently at the city. Another boy, who followed him, started yelling at him for not checking anything. Other kids who came from behind said the same. The red-haired boy who led the group was named Jan. He was their leader. "Don't worry, Ella. I've completed work on my device. If there's anything dangerous nearby, I'll detect it immediately," he said, referring to the object in his hand. It was a homemade device that could warn them of danger in advance. The kids started arguing with him. "Are you willing to risk my life to test the reliability of your gadget?" one of the boys asked. Another big boy who was also behind them said that if he wants, let him play with his own life, but he's endangering theirs as well. He told his friend to stay put if he's afraid to search for food. To which the friend replied that red-haired guy always wants to look cooler than everyone else. With a surprised expression, he stepped back a few steps and said that he just wants to believe in something. That's all they have left. They continued their way, and one of the boys found a supermarket. The girl said that in all supermarkets, even the most ordinary food has long expired. The red-haired boy said they were looking for pharmacies or medicine warehouses because they lack some vitamins. The doctor detected a severe deficiency in the youngest ones. The blonde boy was displeased. "So, are we going to cook lichen or mushrooms seasoned with these damn vitamins?" she asked with a displeased expression. The leader said that the day has already begun, and they need to split up to increase their chances of finding a warehouse. One of the boys said he likes their leader, but he shouldn't talk to Russ like that. One day he might answer back. The girl explained to the boy that they need to understand their leader. The white boy replied that they're all on edge since those robots wiped out the kids from the Natural History Museum. "Though we're all on edge, at least our leader didn't give up hope and continues to believe," he said. Meanwhile, Jan noticed something. The boy who was with the girl asked if there's anything between her and the leader. He meant, does she like Jan? She got angry and asked how he could even say that. The red-haired boy started to feel on top of the world. He needed to cross to the other side. When he was in the middle of the way, his foot got stuck between the rocks, and he fell down. When he fell, he was in great shock. He didn't feel the pain from the fall because he saw a large robot in front of him. Its eyes were glowing red. The robot aimed its gun at the boy and was ready to kill him. Jan already thought that his life was over. He started to cover himself with his hands, but he didn't think it would help him. After a second, the robot lowered its gun, which surprised the boy greatly. He started shouting, "What's next?" He didn't understand why the robot was waiting and why it didn't kill him right away. The guy gathered courage and began shouting for the robot to kill him and not wait. At that moment, two guys spotted their leader and hid behind a large column. The big guy started shouting for the leader not to worry, as he already had the robot in his sights with his weapon. After a second, with a big smile on his face, he fired, and the large projectile hit the robot directly. The red-haired guy got scared, and the robot fell to the ground. There was a very loud noise, and all the guys gathered around it. Everyone was shocked, and the girl kept shouting to check if the guy was okay. He said he was fine, but it was very scary. The robot could have killed him. The red-haired guy was already in its crosshairs. The leader climbed on top of the robot and started inspecting it. "All right, guys. Now we need to clear out. The little friends of this big fella will be here soon." "We'll deal with it once we have vitamins," said the white guy. Everyone started to leave, but the leader told them to stop. The girl asked with displeasure what it meant. After a few seconds, all the guys became unhappy. They began explaining to the red-haired guy that if they hadn't shown up, the robot would have killed him. They said he was lucky that the big guy could shoot well with his bazooka. The red-haired guy began explaining to them that the robot could have killed him, but it spared him, and he wants to know why. "Listen, Jan, this thing malfunctioned, and you got lucky, that's it. Now we need to go," said the girl. But the leader resisted her and said he needed to understand why it happened that way. She looked at him with big eyes and remained silent. The guy started to leave and complain about the leader. The big guy realized that he wasted a rocket for that matter. The guy with a backpack on his back who stayed with the girl began to persuade her to leave. She turned for the last time to the red-haired guy and called his name. He apologized to them and said he was staying. He must know for sure. The guys turned around and all left, and the guy in hair mode put on his glasses and got to work. It was on this day that it all began. Call it subconscious or intuition, call it what you will. He didn't care. But if he hadn't stayed there and messed around with it, nothing would have changed. He continued to inspect the robot. They would have continued to live the same way, hiding in the sewers with no hope. Sometime later, they needed to be even more vigilant. The machines have developed new models that can track them to their hideouts, so they lost entire communities that survived the apocalypse. They wouldn't have lasted long if things had stayed the same. After all, the robots would have finished with them. Some guys were on duty in the shelters near the entrance. They waved to the guys who had just arrived. A little more, and they would have lost their lichen soup. One of the attendants asked where Yang was. The guys said not to ask about it and closed the bunker, as he would not come today. She turned back one last time to see him, but couldn't find him. The guys entered the bunker and closed the door behind them. On the outside of the door, the number 13 was drawn. It was already night outside, but Jan continued examining the robot. The object on its arm started buzzing, warning about the danger of other robots. The guy got a little scared as it was not the right time and he began hiding behind the robot. A big machine with a powerful projector was opposite him. At that moment, the guy hid behind a large piece of debris, but they managed to scan him. He rushed out from there and started running, with angry robots chasing him and shooting at him. The guy ran with all his might, trying to get underground where the robots couldn't reach him. He managed to jump under some big debris, but it was very dangerous. The robot tried to grab him with its long tentacles. Then it started shooting at that spot. The guy ran into the sewer and started escaping, while explosions were happening one after another behind him. He managed to hide in another sewer and continued running into the darkness. Meanwhile, Ella was trying to fall asleep, but she couldn't, because she was thinking about the red-haired guy. She got out of her sleeping bag, thereby waking up another guy. He asked her what was wrong, but she told him not to worry. She took a pistol and headed to the door. The sleeping guys tried to stop her, but she told them she couldn't leave it like that. The guards near the exit were already dreaming. Well, when the girl approached the exit, one of the guys started shouting at her. She said her friend was left outside, and she needed to go after him. When she tried to open the door, the guy with the gun threatened her. He began explaining that now the night units might be underground. The guy with the gun also told her that her friend knew what he was doing by staying outside. The girl said it was Jan, to which the guy replied that he didn't care, even if he was the president of the New York sewer system. They couldn't risk and expose their shelter. Saving one person might lead to losing everyone. A noise was heard from behind the door. The guys got tense, and almost everyone else woke up because of it. Emma started shouting that it was Jan and that they should open the door. They began asking, "But what if it's the night robots?" The girl replied that if it were them, they would have already broken through the door. One guy approached the camera to see who was outside and saw the red-haired guy. The girl got very angry because the guys were clueless and wasting time. Holding a pistol to the supervisor's head, she ordered them to open the door. They quickly opened the door and dragged the red-haired guy into the bunker. One of the guys asked if anyone followed him. Jan said that no one did. At that moment, many of the guys were a little scared. The guy with the gun said that they had heat detectors, and they needed to make sure no one was following him. Jan said he was zigzagging and creating heat interference to throw them off track. When he started removing his glasses, he desperately said that it probably didn't work. These words scared the guy standing nearby. When the red-haired guy went underground, the robots followed him. They almost caught him. He thought it was the end for him. Suddenly a beam appeared. He didn't understand what it was, but he got the impression that it confused them. After that, he ran as fast as he could. He took out another device and placed it on the ground. The device activated heat interference. Then he ran home with all his might. "Anyway, if something like this happens again, don't expect me to open the bunker door," said the girl with an angry expression. The guy started calming down the other guys and told them to go back to sleep. "But nevertheless, we need to double our vigilance and leave someone as a guard for tonight. Seriously, what were you thinking? Do you understand that they could have followed you here after what happened at the museum? Maybe we are the last ones left," the girl said angrily to the red-haired guy. Everyone around was already trying to fall asleep, but the girl continued to sit there, angry. "And all because of this stupid robot and your silly feelings," she continued. The guy looked at her and began to explain that it seems like nonsense, but he had the impression that something happened between him and that robot. He can't say for sure what. The girl didn't want to hear it and pushed him. "Stop it, Jan! The only thing that could have happened between you and that robot is 2 megawatts of energy that would have vaporized you. These robots were designed to destroy us," the girl said with a fierce tone, looking at the guy. At that moment, the puzzled guy reminded her of her father. She started asking, what does her father have to do with it, and then turned her back to the guy. It was difficult for her to talk about this. She doesn't remember anything about her parents. They were very young when all this started. The guy tried to comfort the girl and said that he remembers. The girl looked at him with a surprised look. It was more of a flash of memory and impression than a clear recollection. His father carried him in his arms, hugged him and ran. They were in the sewer. Everyone around was scared. The robots found these people, and the red-haired guy's mom said it was too late. They had to hide Jan. But it turns out the guy doesn't remember for sure if it was his mom. He remembers that at that moment, in the sewer, all people were falling over each other as a crowd. Then his father put him in a pipe and begged him to stay there. He touched him and told him not to come out until everything calms down, and then a bright ray appeared. Some robot passed by. He was about 2 or 3 years old at the time. The girl asked what happened next. Jan, after that, climbed deep into the pipe. He waited as his father told him until everything calmed down and all the screams died down. When he came out, there was nothing, not even bodies. They took everything away. He was all alone, standing in a sewer that seemed huge to him at the time, and crying. The girl asked again what connection there is between his story and that broken robot. The guy thought for a moment and said he didn't know. Maybe he was there when his father died. Maybe he feels guilty. The girl said it's utterly stupid. Anyway, he needs to find out. The girl said it's foolish to risk his life and theirs as well. It's foolish and irresponsible. But now it's all over. The night units took away the frame of his robot. They leave nothing behind. The guy said they need to go to sleep, and they finished talking. The next day, some guy was performing on the stage. They were discussing what to do next. This place is too exposed and far from the city center, but he prefers to stay here. Another guy said that maybe they won't find anything better than this corner. All the underground areas in the city center were destroyed by the robots. In any case, it's very dangerous to be there right now and settle down. But after some time, when the robots think the central districts are completely sterile, they can return there. For now, keep searching. Anyway, soon we'll have to leave this place, said the guy who was on stage. With their territory sweeping system, they will eventually reach us. Jan, Ella, what news from your team? Asked the guy on stage to our main characters. And once again, for the umpteenth time, we can't find any vitamins, painkillers, or antibiotics, the girl said with a sad face. Meanwhile, their supplies are running low. We should organize an expedition to the outskirts. I'm sure there are untouched reserves there, suggested Jan. The guy with white hair started scolding him. You're sick, it's very risky. In the city, we at least have the underground, but beyond the city, it's dangerous. We'll have to walk for hours completely unprotected, the guy exclaimed. Jan got angry too. Do you think I'm attracted to this? As if we have a choice, he retorted to the white-haired guy. The person on the stage told them once or twice to go into the city, and if they find nothing there, then they should try searching outside the city for what they need. The guy with white hair warned Jan that if they go outside the city, it's without him. The group of guys started heading towards the city. The blonde guy and the big guy behind complained about Jan. They didn't approve of the redhead guy being their leader. They said that times have changed. and it's been a long time since they chose him as their leader. It's time to change something. Jan couldn't hold back and asked what they would do. A revolution? The guy walking with Jan began to calm him down. He said it's a common thing and those two guys are always complaining. It's not worth paying attention to them. When they went outside, he ordered them to split up again. After all, they have a better chance of finding something that way. The girl wanted to go with him, but he forbade her. He went alone. The girl looked at him with an angry look as Jan ran off. Another guy with a big backpack on his back approached her and offered to go together. She declined, saying she also wants to be alone today. The guy had good intentions and tried to persuade the girl to go with him, but by that time, she had already run away. The main character rushed to the place where the robot was, but there was no trace of it. He grabbed his head in disappointment, trying to remember if it was really there. After a second, he heard something and turned around. It was the girl. She sat behind him and told him not to trust him. The guy hoped to see the robot here. She continued to explain to him that this is a bad robot, and it wouldn't wait for him here with good intentions. She reminded him that even bad robots don't leave anything behind. The girl continued to press the guy. She told him to return to the rest of the guys because it's dangerous for them to be here alone. The main character approached the place where the robot lay and saw some wire. With surprise, he grabbed it and started pulling. From the big pile of garbage, the bad robot rose. It was one of those who tried to kill the main character last night. The girl shot at him out of fear and started running away with the redhead guy. The robot was almost unharmed and started chasing them. They ran hard, holding hands. The guy told her to reach the underground, but the girl was very tired and fell down. Jan returned to her, but by that time the bad robot was getting closer to them. The girl was distraught. She started crying. Even if we run underground, he will chase us to the shelter, and everyone will be doomed because of us, she told the guy with tears on her face. He told her to hug him, and they both stood their ground. Apparently they had accepted that their lives were coming to an end. The robot approached them and was very close. At that moment, the robot that the redhead guy was looking for appeared out of nowhere. He shot at the bad robot and saved the guys. The guy with the girl stood up, surprised. The robot he was looking for stood right in front of him. The girl with a frightened face looked at him and thought that he would kill them too. The boy explained to her that he had just saved them, and it's unlikely he would kill them after that. The girl asked in surprise why he did it, and hid behind the leader's back. The boy stood there with a satisfied expression on his face. They continued to stare at each other. The girl asked if they could leave. The boy said he didn't know. He had the impression that the robot was waiting for something, but he couldn't say what exactly. The robot sat down and brought its hand closer to the boy. The girl was very scared at that moment and pointed her gun at it. Jan told the girl to calm down and do nothing. They wondered what the robot was doing, and the boy replied that he didn't know, but it seemed like he wanted to reach for a drill in the boy's pocket. "Do you want me to continue repairing you?" the boy asked in surprise. At that moment, the robot lay down on the ground for the boy to start repairing it. Jan was pleasantly surprised and ran towards it with a big smile. The girl continued to keep her weapon pointed at the robot. "Don't worry, Ella. If he allows me to fiddle with his parts, then I should trust him," said the boy as he climbed onto the robot. He opened its lid, under which there were important robot components, and began preparing for the repair. With a smile on his face, he said he would upgrade the robot, just like the best mechanics do. The girl asked what they would do next when he repaired it. She imagined how this big fellow would protect them every time they went outside. They would be able to reach even the neighboring cities safely if he was their escort. The girl stood up and asked the boy if he had asked his robot if he agreed to this or not. She called the robot a Saint Bernard. It was a breed of dogs that helped lost people. The girl had seen photos in a book, and there were many of them. "Ella, why are you collecting useless information? These dogs don't exist anymore," said the red-haired boy. He added that they didn't know this world and never would, so they needed to focus on their life and the present time. And the present time was tough now and involved robots. The boy got distracted and did something wrong for the robot. At that moment, the robot jumped off, and the boy fell to the ground. The girl was scared and thought that the robot got angry and was trying to kill them, but it was the red-haired boy's problem. He started to calm the girl down and said that he accidentally overheated it, and its reflexes probably kicked in. The girl scolded the boy and said that these machines have no reflexes because they don't feel anything. At that moment, the other guys were approaching. The boy wanted to warn them not to be afraid of the robot, but he didn't make it in time. From a long distance, the skinny boy with white hair fired his weapon and asked the big guy to fire the rocket as before. The boy raised his hands with a big backpack on his back and ordered not to shoot as he saw his guys there. The guys approached them and started asking if it was the same robot as before. The girl confirmed it and said it was also in the video. The boy smiled and said that the robot's name is Sam. The boy in glasses asked how he knows its name. The red-haired boy showed that there was an inscription on its body. The boy in glasses got angry and warned the leader not to call the robot that way, and that maybe he's just ingratiating himself to find their shelter and then destroy them all. Jan said that this robot is not like others, and he is kind. He wouldn't do such a thing. The guy in glasses kept scolding the leader and said that there are no good robots, only bad ones. At that moment, the robot grabbed the guy with its hand and lifted him slightly. The red-haired guy was happy and began to explain that he's here to protect him from any threat. The guy was frightened and asked Jan to tell the robot to let him go. At that moment, the girl started to think after the guy's words. She got a little scared again and asked, "What if it's true? What if this robot can really harm us seriously?" The leader told them not to worry for now. He wanted to connect the robot to his device on his hand. That way, he would always know where it is, and perhaps even control or communicate with it. Two other white-haired guys tried to talk him out of it, saying they fear for their lives. The main character asked for 2 days to figure things out with the robot. If he doesn't succeed, then he'll stop doing it. The skinny white-haired guy with the weapon warned the leader that if he fails and tries to deceive them, he will make sure the red-haired guy never wakes up again. Jan sadly agreed to that. The guy reminded him that he only has 2 days, and if he fails, they will come here and destroy the robot. The girl also told him to be very careful and cover all traces after he goes home. The skinny white guy with the weapon warned the leader that if nothing works out with the robot and he tries to deceive them, he will do something so the red-haired guy won't wake up. Jan was relieved and thanked the guys. He said that once they keep their hands on the pulse, they won't be able to do without him. The guys turned around and started to leave. They were disappointed that, once again, they couldn't find anything. They had no more than 2 attempts before moving to a remote suburb. The girl asked the leader what he's going to do. He told them all to go while he stays and finishes a few more details for the robot. All the guys went underground, and the girl stopped and looked once again at the robot with the red-haired guy. Jan was very happy and greeted the robots again. He said that now they are left alone and nothing threatens him. He'll fix the cable he just burnt for the robot, and then we'll have to leave it. The guy asked the robot to trust him, saying they would make a good team. After a while, the red-haired guy returned to the bunker. He warned everyone that he covered his tracks, and no one followed him. The bald guy told him to rest because he looked very tired. But Jan said that he only has 2 days, and she is also trying to recheck the structure of his device on his hand and adjust it to detect signs of the robot. He went to his room, where there were many different things. He was very tired, but he continued to work on his device. After 48 hours, the guys came to him to make sure everything is all right. But the guy continued working on his idea. The girl told him to go rest as he hasn't slept for 2 nights. The guy was happy and said he finished everything. He just needs to go outside and insert this thing into the robot. When Jan tried to get up from the chair, he passed out. But the guys got scared, thinking something happened to him. The girl told them not to worry, as he simply hasn't slept for a long time. When the guy began to open his eyes after his sleep, he didn't understand what was happening. He asked the girl if he slept for a long time. She replied that she had never seen him like this before, and he slept for a whole 20 hours. Jan was shocked. He even got a little angry and quickly got up from the bed, even pushing the girl a little, put on his shoes, and ran. The girl told him he can't just go there like that. The guy explained to her that he promised the robot to come back no later than 2 days. The robot will think they convinced him to abandon it. The girl started explaining to the guy that this machine is programmed in such a way that it doesn't understand anything. Then the guy said that the occasion when the robot protected him was not programmed. He quickly opened the door and ran toward the exit. The girl decided to go with him. "Are you sure your device on your hand can detect robots within the perimeter?" she asked. "Yes." Well, if that robot is still there with all the changes I made, it can jam the signal that prevents detecting other robots, and I need to make some adjustments to better catch its signal, Jan said. They finally reached the exit. The girl told him to be careful. The guy looked at his device and there was nothing on it. He said it's safe to go outside. The guy hoped that if he goes out now, he'll see his robot there. But after he emerged, his smile disappeared from his face. He didn't see his robot anywhere. The guy started saying that he doesn't understand, as the robot was supposed to stay here, but it's not here. The girl said she doesn't like it, and they shouldn't stay there. I didn't have enough time to connect all its systems to my device. I'm sure it knew about this. It was supposed to wait for me. Something happened. This is impossible. How will I answer to others about it? The guy sadly asked. He began to call his robot very loudly, but the girl told him to stop doing it, as he could attract other bad robots. The guy stared into the distance and was very upset. The girl said they should go back to the bunker. She doesn't want to miss her ration of lichen. At that moment, they showed us this robot hiding between the buildings. It was unclear what was happening. Perhaps it was running away from the bad robots. In any case, the guy couldn't find it on that day. This was the end of the first chapter. Starting from the second, we are shown our world. In some large building, cries were heard. The guys cornered some kind of robot, most likely. After that, loud screams were heard. The group of guys was plotting something. Others told them to be quieter. It turns out they wanted to get a rat out of a small hole. Jan tried to do it, but it bit him. The big guy decided to try to get it out himself and stuck his hand in the hole. He felt the rat, but it bit his finger and wouldn't let go. The blonde guy was in pain and quickly pulled it out, shouting for his friend to kill it. Another blonde guy swung a bat and hit it directly. The rat fell to the ground, and the guys were happy that they would be able to eat soon. After a while, they set up a fire in one of the rooms and cooked the rat. They passed it around in a circle so that everyone could enjoy it. The girl said she had never seen such a huge rat, and it was very tasty. They couldn't remember the last time they had eaten so well. One of the guys surprisingly asked where rats are usually fed like this, while they had to cut veins not to starve. The red-haired guy joked that Ras probably felt the same way, and that he was no worse than them. The guy got a little angry, and said that if it weren't for him, they wouldn't have eaten anything today. He sat with his finger bandaged. The guy with glasses warned them that they shouldn't eat this since 2 years ago. When they ate it for 2 weeks, everyone got sick. The guys pounced on him and said that if he didn't want to eat, he should give it to them. But he turned away and said he would taste it once for testing. At that moment, the red-haired guy approached the edge of the building, looked at his city with a sad expression. It turns out he was thinking about his robot. After it disappeared, a whole year had passed. He missed it a lot, but the girl tried to distract him. She said he shouldn't think about it because much time had passed, and the other guys weren't in the mood to bring up that topic. The guy said he didn't understand why she was saying that. The girl got angry and reminded him of the time when they were all scared, thinking that the robot disappeared to find them and kill everyone. If he wanted to, he should go to Ras and talk to him about it. The guy said it wasn't fair. She also saw what that robot was capable of, but the girl kept denying everything. The guy reminded her that the robot saved their lives when it killed the bad robot in front of them. Jan said he would never forget that act of kindness from the good robot. Jan, it's been a year. Look around. How can't you understand that nostalgia is an unaffordable luxury for us? The girl said. For them, there is nothing but the present. They have to survive and not think about the past. The guy got angry and reminded her of how she loves reading books about the past. As soon as they find a library or museum, she looks for traces of the past there. She said it was stupid, but maybe that's what helps her keep hope. Perhaps she hopes that everything will be reborn as it was, but it's just as foolish as the story about the robot. The guy started to comfort the girl and said she could understand him since she also has some hope. They looked at each other again, and the girl started to walk away. Yes, I've had enough of it all. This new shelter is very far away and time waits for no one. We should take a different route. We could go through the subway, said the guy with a big backpack on his back. The guy with white hair said he's gone crazy. It's just as dangerous as walking on the ground. Those robots will definitely track us. Don't worry, I've clarified the route of our last passage. And there are plenty of tunnels there that could serve as shelter for us, the backpack guy said again. The big guy who was carrying the crossbow also started to protest. If they hadn't moved last year, they wouldn't have to simplify their lives like this. The skinny white-haired guy agreed with the big guy, and he also liked the last refuge. When they entered some wagon, the white-haired guy reminded everyone that it's all because of Yan and his robot. If he hadn't taken it up back then, they would be living differently now. Yan got angry at that moment, but the girl started to calm him down. The red-haired guy started scolding them and saying that they were cowards, living like rats, unable to take 3 steps without fear, and hiding as soon as he spots the slightest shelter made of reinforced concrete. The big guy began arguing with him that he was not a coward. "You're afraid of everything, even good ideas, and this robot could have helped us. I'm sure he left because of you," Jan said. After these words, everyone around fell silent. The atmosphere became tense, and they lost their mood. The guy turned away from them and started walking. The guys lit torches and followed him. They were inside a broken-down subway. Everything around was in ruins. The big guy caught up with him and said, "If you're so good with machines, why don't you join them? I've seen guys who couldn't handle the shock and went crazy, but never ones like you. You know what? Yes, we live like rats, and we're afraid of everything to avoid being tracked down and killed. It's not cowardice, it's adaptation, or rather it's called the instinct of self-preservation. If you want to survive, you have to adapt." After the big guy finished speaking, suddenly they all heard something and panicked. The guy with the backpack said that they couldn't stay here and needed to run. He knew the way, so he told everyone to follow him. The guys started asking if he was sure he knew the way they were running. In panic, the guy replied that it was correct. Above their heads, some kind of big robot flew by. It looked like a large lizard or some sort of caterpillar. The strangest thing was that it wasn't a living creature, but a programmed robot. The guys continued to run with difficulty and managed to reach a door. The girl rushed in first and was greatly surprised as it was a dead end. The guy with the big backpack looked at the map and said that it was impossible because there was no dead end on the map. The guys were very scared and realized that this might be the end of their lives. "This monster will keep shooting until it widens the passage to kill us. It can't. You saw the metal construction. Maybe it will bend, but thanks to the concrete, it will hold up," the guy in glasses said, hoping that the robot wouldn't reach them. The robot took out its saw and began cutting through everything that was blocking its path. "It will collapse everything now and bury itself along with the guys." The big guy told everyone to shut up and get ready. "When everything collapses, maybe 1 or 2 will manage to slip through. Don't think that we will all survive, but personally, I'll try my luck. The next one follows me." When the big boy was ready to run, something suddenly happened. After a while, everything calmed down, and the boy decided to see what was there. The girl told him not to go out as it could be a trap. But the boy said that he couldn't hear anything and decided to take a look. It was indeed a trap, and the robot attempted to grab him. The girl began to scold him and said that he could have stayed there. The boy said that something was happening outside. Shortly after, there was some kind of flash. All the kids froze, waiting to see what was happening. It was him, the good robot that Jan had been searching for so long. He began to fight with the evil monster. All the kids were amazed and had their mouths wide open in surprise. The boy, with a smile, said that he believed the robot would return. The big boy wanted to use this opportunity to escape, but the main hero stopped him and said that they needed to help. "He came to save us, and you'll abandon him? Do you realize you're a coward?" "Hand me the weapon," said the main hero with a fierce expression. The big boy agreed, and they did it for the thrill. The evil robot grabbed Sam and was ready to tear him apart. But the big boy managed to shoot from his weapon and hit the evil robot directly. The projectile struck its body. After that, the good robot got up and managed to make its move, ultimately killing the creature. The boy started running towards his robot with a big smile, but the girl tried to stop him as she thought it was a bad idea. The boy didn't listen, opened his arms, and ran to his robot. Sam approached the boy and touched him with its metal hand. It seemed like the robot understood something. The guy happily hugged him and said how glad he was to see him. The big guy didn't fully believe, and still thought that something threatened them. The red-haired guy kept standing and rejoicing. He was proving to everyone that he was right. So you're saying he does everything as you want? Asked the blonde, skinny guy. Well, not quite everything I want, but he protects me and he allowed me to fix myself. That's already not bad. Can you imagine what we can do with him? Said the main character cheerfully. Well, I don't know. We still need to be careful. This guy may not be who he seems, said the guy with glasses. After a while, they went outside and started heading home, although the bunker couldn't be called home. It was the first time they returned without trembling and fear. The guy with glasses was still cautious and thought he might be pretending to be a Trojan horse. The good robot walked ahead, and all the guys could be at ease since the night patrols that were supposed to be patrolling the area at that time probably didn't dare to mess with him. The guy wanted everyone to trust him, but some of the guys were still scared and suspicious. The big guy, who was supposed to be the bravest one, hid behind a road sign, thinking it would help him. In my opinion, it was foolish. They continued their way home at such a late hour. When they reached the bunker, the girl said that Jan had this evening to himself, and then he should not try to do anything without consulting them. When they entered the bunker, the big guy started boasting about what had happened to them. He suggested gathering a council to discuss everything. At that moment, the main character, without paying attention to the others, quickly went to his room to get the tools. The guy with glasses approached him and offered to go with him, but he declined. The girl also approached and asked if she could trust him, to which the main character replied that she knew him. The guy collected all the things and quickly rushed out of the bunker to do what he had planned. He climbed out into the sewer and got into a large container. It was a kind of boat for moving on water. Not far from there, where there was a little more space, the robot stood waiting for him. Jan ran up to him and showed his device, saying that he made it last time when he was repairing him. He warned that he made some changes to his system, added something, removed something. In short, nothing complicated. The guy needed to activate the radio beacon he installed for the robot. Otherwise, nothing would work. The robot approached him and grabbed his hand. At first, the guy was a little scared because he thought the robot didn't like the idea, but a second later, the robot presented him to his body to do the thing. The guy was pleased and told him not to worry. The robot squatted and held the guy, and he told him he wouldn't feel anything. He installed his beacon and joyfully said that now they could always find each other. So you're saying this device will allow you to see where he is in real time? Asked the main guy in the bunker. Yes, it works on the principle of triangulation. I will also need to install additional radio beacons in key areas of the city. But, of course, if he leaves the district boundaries, my equipment will not be very effective, said Jan. And can you control him? Or control him? The main guy asked again. I don't think I'll be able to do it. To accomplish that, I need access to its internal memory. It needs reprogramming, and that's difficult, Jan said. Jan, machines are hunting us down and exterminating us. It's been several months since we lost contact with other communities of surviving children. Perhaps we are the last ones. If this robot can help us understand how to find them all, we must seize this chance, said the main boy. At this moment, our protagonist became a bit upset and started explaining to everyone that Sam is slightly different. He's not just a robot that can be reprogrammed. Jan had the impression that they've known each other all their lives. If you think you can't handle it, Cassandra may help you. The signal jammers he installed work well, the white-haired boy said. They continued to argue. Our boy didn't like what their leader was demanding. Isn't his assistance enough at this moment? If we start tampering with his circuits now, we might break him beyond repair, Jan said. The boy with long white hair continued to persuade Jan. After they left the room, our protagonist's friends ran up to him and asked how it went. He told them that they could go out with Sam, but they shouldn't disclose or show where they live. The big boy was happy that they would be together with the robot, since it would be much safer. He would lead the way, and if their enemies appeared while they were fighting, they could either escape or crush another can. We're winners no matter what, the big boy said with a smile. Our boy got angry and said that it's not up for discussion. They shouldn't put Sam in danger. He should only help them if absolutely necessary. The guys were a bit shocked and asked where he was going. He said that he needed to explain it to Sam. At least he would try. After some time, Jan and Sam sat on the rooftop of a large building. They contemplated how it all happened, and how this used to be the biggest and most beautiful city in the world. But for unknown reasons, everything was destroyed in a single moment. He started explaining to the robot that machines resembling him started hunting and exterminating people for no apparent reason. They are struggling to survive. As he was explaining this, he got too close to the edge, and he started praying. Everything began to fall along with him and our main character. As he was falling, he was extremely scared and called for Sam's help. Near the bottom, Sam caught the boy, and at first he thought it was his dad. He was in shock, so he didn't understand what had happened initially. Then he looked up and saw that it was the robot. Apparently he could fly. Sam grabbed the boy, and together they flew to the next building. Jan was surprised, but also happy. Then they landed on the road, and he praised his robot, wanting everyone to see. While the boy was looking at him, someone from behind threw a stone. He turned around and flew in that direction. Then 2 boys from the bunker came up to the boy with glasses and said that Jan lost his mind. They all rushed outside. It turns out Jan asked Ella to come up to the rooftop with him because he was saying strange things about the city. So the boys thought he wanted to jump off the roof. The boys were a bit scared for their friend and discussed what could have pushed him to do this. When they got to the rooftop, they saw Jan, who told them not to come closer. "I see that he impressed you, but you don't trust him much," Jan said. "Jan, listen. I know we've been hard on you lately. We just weren't sure, but now we've changed our minds. Please don't mess around. Step back from the edge," the boy with glasses said. He also added that Sam is incredible, and without him, they have no chance of survival. Jan kept standing at the edge of the building and said his last words that there is no hope. After that, he simply jumped. Everyone was terrified and rushed to him, but it was too late. Everyone thought it was the end for Jan, but after a second, he and the robot flew up to the rooftop. They were shocked by what they saw. The joyful Jan jumped off the robot and asked who wants to try. After some time, all the boys tried flying on the robot as well. Ella tried it with Jan, but she was a little scared. While they were flying together, she told him that she was worried about him. She really thought he wanted to kill himself. After that, she asked him not to scare them like that anymore. The girl had strong feelings for this boy, but I'm not sure he fully understood that. After they finished and went back to their bunker, some of the boys discussed it. They really enjoyed the day and what happened to them, but the boy with glasses was scared because he felt nauseous the whole day. He said they should not overdo it. The girl came up to them and said they needed to pack up because they were moving to another city according to the council's decision. The council decided it because Sam appeared, and with him, it would be much safer. 2 boys liked this idea. It happened too fast, so it carried a significant risk. The boy with glasses said he knew this would happen, so he was prepared for it. That was the end of the 2nd chapter. At the beginning of the next chapter, they show the city again. It was unclear whether it was the same one or a different city. 5 kilometers from here, there should be a medication warehouse on the territory of a former laboratory. Indeed, the guys have never gone this far before, but there they can find the antibiotics they need. Perhaps they will find something there that will enable them to make medicine themselves. The big guy couldn't understand why they needed a medicine stockpile if they consume all sorts of junk. Besides, they have to reach the open space. After some time, the girl still wasn't entirely sure about the robot. The big guy comforted her again, saying that she had seen everything, and Sam wouldn't allow any harm to come to them. The big guy said they had no special choice and couldn't stay there anyway. The guys continued their journey, uncertain if they would find anything useful for survival. The guy in glasses was in charge of their route and said it should be behind the next building. At that moment, Sam sensed something, and the red-haired guy told everyone to run and hide. They rushed into some room. After a while, a lot of cars appeared on the street. They were evil robots. The guys hid behind the wall, hoping not to be discovered. They were all frightened by the sheer number of them. Jan reminded Sam they shouldn't take risks unless necessary. The girl looked out of the window and said they were leaving. The guy in glasses looked at the building and thought the construction somehow served as a shelter. Inside the building, there was a huge door with the number 15 painted on it. Jan ran to it. He tried to open the door, but it was locked, so he asked Sam to help him. When they managed to open it, they were somewhat surprised. There were many different boxes. They got the impression that all of them were made for the whole planet. Most likely, the boxes were filled with some kind of food. But when the guy in glasses approached and read some note, he shouted to everyone that it wouldn't help them much. The big guy was displeased they risked for nothing. It turned out the boxes contained medicines for animals. The girl approached the guy and said they didn't risk for nothing, since the molecules were exactly the same as those given to humans. The big guy asked how they would move all of it to their bunker. Then, the red-haired guy said Sam would help him do it. He would carry a couple of pallets, and if they needed more, they would come and take them. The guys returned to the bunker and emptied the boxes, showing everyone what they had found, and it was just a tiny amount. There were millions of such boxes. They could take whatever they wanted. They would have everything necessary for treatment. The guy in glasses approached the red-haired guy and said the robot incident was strange. The robots turned around and left without any reason. He wanted to understand what prevented their sensors from detecting the guys. It might help them. The guys were happy and lifted Jan up, exclaiming he was right about his robot. At that moment, the girl entered their room and said everyone should listen. There was something important. Apparently, the refugees from the museum basement made contact. They were no longer alone. The image was not very clear, and the voice was somewhat metallic, but it could be understood. The leader said he recognized a few guys from that basement. The guy they showed on the monitor asked why they hadn't been in touch for so long. After the attack on their museum shelter, they had to hide somewhere else. They had no more medicine, but they had food. They could make an exchange. Those were the words the girl managed to write down before the connection was lost. They must have hidden very deeply, so the signal was weak. The girl roughly determined their location. The guy with long white hair rejoiced and said he would send some of their guys to them tomorrow. He looked at the main hero and said that after his triumph today, he and his team were assigned to this task. After some time, the guys were on the street with guns in their hands, fulfilling their mission. The big guy didn't like that they always sent them to do the worst jobs. Jan said he should be proud because he was doing such an essential mission. The big guy continued to argue with the leader, while the guy in glasses studied the area on the map. The guy in glasses said there weren't many options. Most likely, the guys were at the very bottom. The big guy didn't want to go there, and the girl asked if Sam could go with them. Jan replied that it was too deep, and the robot was too huge, unless it could bend. Still, they took the robot with them, struggling, but he could walk with them by bending. They began to wonder where this would lead them. They saw the central collector of the former air purification system. He said they should have control rooms. It's a pretty good shelter they have. The big guy started complaining that they barely had the slightest conditions for survival, while these guys had a whole air purification system. The girl tried to calm him down and said it wasn't exactly a 5-star hotel here. The guys reached the end and began to say that everything there was old. They began to turn the door, but it was rusty and couldn't move. Jan asked the robot to open the door. With a loud noise, it did it. When they entered inside, they were extremely frightened and surprised. There were a very large number of dead people. It was unclear what they died from, but the guys thought it was the group they were heading to. The guy in glasses said they looked like mummies. They started to wonder what had happened there, and the guy in glasses said the bodies had been there for a long time, long enough to lose moisture anyway. The red-haired guy wondered who then contacted them. A moment later, from the other side, they heard a question. Someone shouted to them that they finally found them. They had been waiting for them for a very long time. They asked why our guys didn't get in touch. The guys looked at him and thought he was the only survivor there. The guy who addressed them said they had no more medication, but they had food, and they could trade. The guys still didn't understand anything. Jan suggested that the guy must have lost his mind after what he experienced there. Strange sounds started to come from that guy. Sometimes he stuttered, and at first he spoke in an inhuman voice. At that moment, the robot turned on its large projector and illuminated him. The guys got even more scared and said they didn't like it there at all. There was a silhouette of the guy who communicated with our guys, and something protruded from his back. A large number of strange wires were stuck into him. It looked very terrifying. From behind the wall, some kind of robot came out, which controlled this person. The guys began to get nervous and run away, and the big guy wanted to shoot a rocket. He hit the robot right in its tentacles, but they were still moving. They thought that was the end, but they were deeply mistaken when a large number of the same robots emerged from the shadows. They were really scared and shouted that they needed to get out of there somehow. These robots surrounded them from all sides, and the guys continued to kill them with their weapons, but they couldn't handle all of them. Then the main hero ordered Sam to get rid of these creatures and open the way for them, after which his robot mercilessly began to kill the bad monsters. Sam easily killed these monsters with his machine gun, and the girl told them to run away and she would cover them, but at that moment, one of the bad robots grabbed her by the leg. The guy managed to shoot directly at the tentacle, thereby freeing the girl. She fell from a great height and slightly hurt herself. Jan ordered the robot to take the girl outside immediately. The angry main hero began to show his anger on the bad machines. The big guy covered him with his rocket. There were so many of them, it was hard to keep track of where they were coming from, one after another. The guys got injured. One robot even caught the guy in glasses and wrapped him with its tentacles. Sam made a hole in the wall, and the guys started to run away. Sam continued to cover the guys as they ran outside. Somehow the guy in glasses managed to get out as well. When the guys came out, they were shocked, but realized that Jan was still inside. The girl was covered in wounds, and the guy in glasses tried to go back for Jan. He was stopped by the skinny blonde guy. He said that he shouldn't be foolish because Jan has a robot, and it protects him. All the guys were also heavily wounded. They stared at the place where they emerged and realized that everything had collapsed there. The robot was also outside, and the guys didn't understand why it didn't come after them. It was weakened. The guys couldn't move it. The big guy suggested leaving it here, as without Jan's sensor, the robot wouldn't be able to help them anyway. It was dangerous to stay there, so the guys started to leave. The girl kept looking at the place, and tears came to her eyes. The guys tried to console her, and eventually said that they had to come to terms with it, as they wouldn't see him again. The robot continued to be in the same place. A lot of time passed, and they still showed how the robot sat in the same place. A lot of time passed, as it was already winter. The guys were moving through the snow somewhere. Cassandra, for some reason, stopped near the building and made some calculations. The guys called him to leave, as it was dangerous for them to be there. The girl asked to wait a little, and the big guy got upset. He claimed that those calculations wouldn't help them, and going there wouldn't help find anything. Most likely that's where that terrible incident happened. The girl reminded them of that, but the guys asked her to be silent. They had no desire to remember it. She looked at Cassandra and said he couldn't forget what happened down there. The guy in glasses continued to do something there, while the other guys tried to convince the girl to go home. When they turned around, the guy in glasses saw something and was surprised. He started to clear large debris to get inside. The skinny blonde guy tried to stop him, and the guy in glasses accidentally dropped a big stone on him. He said they had already searched the entire area there, and there was nothing left for them there except rats. The guy in glasses continued to insist that he needed to get there. The girl said they all needed to do it, but as always, the big guy was against it. He claimed that Jan had been gone for a long time. The guy in glasses continued to prepare for the descent. He said that he wouldn't be able to convince him not to do it, and that the big guy didn't have to go there, but the other guys would. The big guy continued to say how stupid the idea was. The girl asked him not to talk about it anymore, and if he wanted, he could go home. Everyone was afraid to descend there. They didn't know what awaited them down there. The girl said she was driven not by fear, but by her love for that guy. After that, all the other guys also began to justify themselves, saying that they weren't scared, and the matter was completely different. As a result, because of this, all the guys still descended. Nobody wanted to show that they were scared. The pipeline they unwound through was completely destroyed. It was the only entrance that remained. The guys found the entrance and tried to go in quietly. They turned on the light and started looking around. They began to recall that moment and said that if it weren't for Jan and his robot, they would have stayed here. In the end, Jan became the only one who couldn't escape. No one saw the robot since then. The guy with glasses said that Jan had brains and was very helpful. It would be nice to find a couple of useful things in these remains, but at least it's strange. Normally they don't leave anything behind, so why didn't they come back for the remains of the destroyed units? The guy with glasses asked himself. The big guy suggested that it could have been a trap again. The guy with glasses said that maybe this time the night units couldn't get here. Among the debris, the guy managed to find a device that was on the main hero's arm. It was the thing that tracked robots. With its help, he kept in touch with Sam. The guy started asking if he could fix it. The guy can try, but he doesn't promise anything. The big guy assumed that this thing would help them find their robot, Sam, but even if it's true, there's no guarantee that it will work. If he didn't come back, he must have had a reason for it. The girl suggested that maybe Jan had a reason not to return home, and perhaps he's still alive, and the robot was indeed programmed to look after him. The big guy saw bad machines and ordered everyone to stop. I know you always thought he was crazy when he talked about it, but if he was right, if there really is some connection between humans and machines, the girl said. The big guy told her to stop making noise. The guys were afraid that the bad robots would track them down since it was snowing outside, and indeed they managed to do it. With their long beams, they scanned the building and found the guys there. In fear, they all started running away. The guy with glasses suggested hiding in the pipeline nearby since those creatures couldn't get there. As they ran towards the pipe, the skinny blonde guy started complaining that they wouldn't go there. The big guy was huge, so he couldn't fit inside. The guy with glasses didn't listen to them and forcefully pushed them into the pipe. Meanwhile, the bad robots had already approached the guys, and they were all scared. However, by helping each other, they managed to escape. The guy dropped the device that belonged to Jan. It was very cramped inside the pipe, and one of the bad robot's sons looked inside. The skinny guy aimed his rocket and fired instantly. He managed to kill one robot, but the other robot found the device that had fallen and took it for himself. The guy with glasses noticed that he lost that device and wanted to get it back. The girl tried to stop him, but by that time he had already made up his mind. He said that it might be their only chance to find Sam. The big guy grabbed him by the leg and said that there's no guarantee that he can fix it at all. The guy with glasses started getting upset. They couldn't know for sure because he didn't even try. At that moment, even the girl was on the side of the guy with glasses. She also said that it might be their only chance to find Sam. After a while, all the extraneous sounds disappeared, and they decided that the robots had left. The big guy said he knows the way the units go beyond the perimeter. A month ago, during heavy snowfall, he noticed tracks in the snow. It intrigued him because there were several days of heavy snowfall, but the tracks kept appearing in the same place. The big guy observed several times from his hiding spot and saw that the robots were following the same path with millimeter precision. The guy said he knows a place where they can set a trap for them. They and Marco had prepared a few things just for this case. As they headed to that place, the guy with glasses stared at something. He wiped his glasses and looked there again. In front of him was a road sign. It turned out to be their idea. The sign served as a mark, and the guy with glasses was the bait. The girl got nervous and asked if it would work. The big guy replied that they have no way out since they only have one missile left. It's the last one. The guy reassured her and said they had been preparing for this for several weeks. The girl said they need to be careful not to damage the device that belonged to Jan. The big guy was surprised by the girl's words and said that they also need to be careful not to damage Cassandra. Everyone was ready, and they just had to wait for the monster. After some time, a monster appeared in front of the guy. The big guy looked through binoculars and gave the signal. The guy with glasses was trembling with fear but remained in place. The robot continued to approach him, but I have one question. Why didn't he kill the person right away? Everyone else saw this, and the girl was surprised by this. The big guy said that the robot never encountered prey on the way back, so he didn't know what to do. He ordered them to wait a little longer and to act after the signal. At that moment, everyone tensed up. The robot continued to approach, and the girl started to get nervous. The guy with glasses began to sweat from fear, but when the robot stepped on the mark, the big guy gave the signal. The guy on the roof released the mechanism, and a machine attached to a rope fell on the robot. It crushed the robot against the wall and killed it. The guys ran up to that spot and were happy that they managed to get their device back. After that, the guys quietly and carefully entered their bunker. The girl told the guy to start working on that device. The big guy asked himself, what if he messes up? What if he can't fix it? The girl said that in that case, they will have to make an indentation in the wall and put the device there, along with a couple of charges, erasing all memories of Jan and his dreams. The girl was very upset, and the big guy hugged her. He said that as long as Jan was here, he gave us hope that it's still possible. The skinny white guy who constantly argued with Jan also said that he misses him. When the girl went to sleep, she had a scary dream involving Jan. On this note, we will end the first part of this video. If you liked the story and want to continue, you should like and write in the comments that you want the continuation of the second part. Special thanks to all those who watch my videos to the end and support this channel. We will see you again soon. And now I suggest you go and watch my other videos.